Hi, I'm Danny from Goddess Tea, and I thought that it would be kind of fun to show you guys how I roast coffee because I've just added coffee to my product line, and I hand roast in my beautiful Las Vegas backyard. And I use a Whirly Pop popcorn popper, a gas stove. I'm lucky enough to have an outdoor kitchen, which is nice because when you roast coffee, everything smells like coffee. So it's nice to be able to do it in my backyard instead of stinking up the house. I personally think that it smells lovely, but the other people I live with may not agree. So anyways, today I roast in half-pound increments. And in addition to my Whirly Pop popcorn popper, my gas stove, I use a candy thermometer because it goes up to 550 degrees. I'm not roasting coffee at that level, but it does go up that high, and it doesn't break, which is good. I use the stopwatch function on my iPod Touch because it's big enough for me to see without having to hold it near the heat. And then all I do is I pre-measure out my half-pound increments of coffee, and I put them in these little dishes because they're easy to throw away, and I can label them, each of them, with what they are, so I'm not dragging out whole bags of coffee beans. As you can see, the coffee beans, before they're roasted, are a very, very pale green color, and they're kind of small. They're not as big as coffee beans you're used to, and different coffee bean varieties are different sizes. This is a Brazilian blend, and it's a little smaller. This is a Peruvian blend, and the beans themselves are a little bit bigger. So I'm up to temperature here. I'm about ready to drop my beans and start cranking. I did want to show you real quick. For the benefit of this video, we'll say I roasted some Ethiopian beans earlier beyond recognition. So this is what burnt hand-roasted coffee beans look like. They are a matte black, which is not good because it means that there's no oil left in the bean, essentially. And it literally just disintegrates. That's charred. It's burnt. It's not drinkable. It's disgusting. So that is a half a pound of Ethiopian coffee that was sacrificed to the gods. We'll say for educational purposes. I did it on purpose, I swear. Not really. So anyways, I'm about to drop this Brazilian, which I believe is going to live with my mother in Alaska, which is weird because she doesn't drink coffee, so I have a feeling she wanted to give me money and knew I wouldn't take her money. So I'm going to lift my little flap on here, drop the beans, and start cranking. And I'm going to turn on my stopwatch function, and I will check back in with you around first crack, which is about 6 minutes into the roasting process. Okay, we're just a couple minutes in, and this is really all there is to hand roasting coffee with a Whirly Pop popcorn popper. You want to do a slow but steady crank on the handle. What's inside the pot here is two little pieces of metal that rotate the beans around evenly, just like if you were roasting popcorn. And then this hand crank lets me adjust the speed. You want to do slow but steady, not too slow because you don't want to leave the beans in one place for too long and let them burn. So we're just cranking away. And here in a couple more minutes, we'll hear an audible crack, which lets me know that we're at about the halfway point for the roast. Okay, so we are right about at the 5.5 minute mark, and I'm starting to hear the beginning of crackling. It's not quite first crack yet. It's not a real sturdy audible crack, but I'm starting to hear things. So I've moved the camera a little bit closer to the pot, and I'm going to be quiet and see if you can hear the crackling. It almost sounds like popcorn. There we go. That was a good one. That was a nice, good audible crack. So right about 6 minutes, which is perfect. That's right on target to where we want to be, because that means that we'll have a medium roast between 10 and 11-ish. I pulled the last batch, which was a medium roast, at right about 11. And you can kind of start seeing some smoke coming off the pot now too. That's a good sign as well. That means that we're right on track. Yeah, you can definitely get some smoke. Excuse me. I'm not sure how well you can see it on my dinky little camera, but you do start to get smoke coming out of the vents here. It's definitely got a really nice rich aroma now, which is good because it's starting to smell like coffee. Green coffee sort of smells like dirt. It doesn't really smell like a whole lot. So now we're definitely starting to smell like coffee. I bet if I peek my... Oh yeah, we've got a nice almost chicory color, which is still too light to actually drink because it would just taste really weak. But we're definitely on our way. We're at the 7-minute mark now, so I'll check back in with you closer to the end. Okay, we've got smoke. I've just dumped the beans out. Can't even barely see them because it's that smoky. Good for asthmatics, yeah. But in order to cool them off, I'm going to dump them from one strainer to another. This just kind of moves them around so we can slow down the roasting process so they don't continue cooking once they're out of the roaster. And all I really do is go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this, part of what this does, I don't know if you can see on the counter here, there's this flaky stuff that's called chaff. That's the skin of the bean that comes off as it's roasted. That's another way of telling that you've definitely roasted the bean long enough is when the chaff starts coming off. See, it just flies off. There's no caffeine in it, and it doesn't taste like anything. So if it gets in your coffee, if you ever find, bits of skin, coffee skin in your bag of coffee, you can just grind it up with your coffee like regular, because it doesn't taste like anything, and it's not, there's only going to be a little tiny bit. So, and all I'm doing here is I just keep tossing them back and forth until they've cooled down enough to touch. And then I lay them out on plates, on paper plates, to finish cooling the rest of the way. And then I let them sit for about 24 hours, in a bag, obviously, before I ship them out. And that just, I kind of look at them one more time before I ship them just to make sure, they still have, they're nice and oily, because that's where all the yummy flavor comes from. That's what makes it nice and fresh. So yeah, this is a good, I would say probably on the darker side of medium, not quite medium, not so overcooked that it's not oily anymore and not falling apart in my hands. I'll toss some of this on a plate here so you can kind of see what the beans look like. They are a very nice dark chocolate color. They're shiny, which means that there's definitely still oil on them. The batch that I roasted earlier, which was an Ethiopian blend, and this one is a little bit lighter in color. It's not quite as oily because the more you roast the bean, the more the oil comes out. So, which is good because then there's still oil in the bean. They're not matte though. They're not dry. So that's it. That's coffee roasting in the backyard with Danny. So we'll hopefully do more of these as new techniques come up, and maybe as I get better at roasting and start to use different kinds of roasters and things like that. But that's first installment of Coffee Roasting with Danny. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can visit the blog at goddesstea.wordpress.com or the shop at goddesstea.bigcartel.com, and those will both be linked on this video as well. Thanks!